It was no coincidence that we have two women that are using their bodies, their minds, and every tool at their disposal to try and create change in Hong Kong. Jamima-Joy, welcome to Abantu Voices. Let's give it up for her, please. So let's give you a little rundown of your CV, right? But not in the, CV resume, sense, but just the stuff that you like and the stuff that you are doing. You were brought up and educated in Hong Kong. You are a cultural researcher. You're a teacher. You're a creator, a photographer. Should I carry on? You're a model. You're an actress. And your cultural research, which I found very interesting, was based around, expats and migrant workers and immigrant workers in Asia. So you're an all-rounder, but more than anything, you're also a creative in this industry. I'm really interested to know, Jemima, aside what I've just told everybody, who are you? Or how do you identify yourself? Like when I meet you on the street, what do you say? Hey, I am and I do this. What do you say? Welcome.
Thank you. Is this really on or something? No, you need to switch it on. Now is it on? Okay. Hey everyone, thank you so much first and foremost, Lirandzu, for having me here. It's really great to have this kind of platform just to share my story. First things first, with your question, I would say what I usually tell people, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a teacher. I usually go for this answer because it's what I do. It's what pays my bills. But when I think about it, in a way, we can all be teachers. And I would like to be a teacher to everybody, and not in the academic sense. Like, okay, guys, so what's the past tense of go? It's more about how we inspire each other to be a better version of ourselves. I want to push people to be a better version of themselves. So in another sense, teach. So I would describe myself as a teacher, and not just, not just in education, not just in the tutorial center that, all the crazy tiger moms and dads and their kids to, but also in life, the sense of life, how to live our lives. Because now, depression rates are up, people are feeling lonelier than ever, but still, we can find reasons to be happy. So I hope that people can just feel, inspired to live and to learn and to love.
Already look at the focus, like you are a teacher. We're just like listening to you like, yes, ma'am. It's wonderful. Jemima-Joy Gbadago. I'm saying it wrong. Oh, God. And I've been practicing. Gbadago. Gbadago. What's your heritage, Jemima? Are you able to maybe just break it down to us? And by the way, I found it a very interesting something that I Googled, I guess. But your surname touches on the fact that it's usually used for people that have like leadership qualities, decisiveness. You don't know this? Now you do, girl. And strong business sense. Did you know that? It is from the Igbo ethnic minority, right? But tell us about your heritage, first of all.
So I was raised by a Nigerian father and a Filipino mother. And I was born in the Philippines and brought to Hong Kong when I was 4 months old.
So basically, Hong Kong is all that you've known, essentially. How was it growing up as a black girl in Hong Kong?
To sum it up, terrible. Especially back in the days before globalization became, much more prominent than it is now. It was pretty, in another word, I would say lonely, because not many people get to see, black Asian kids, let alone black kids. So when they come across people like me, or let alone a little girl, they didn't know how to react. And people, like I've shared with you before, people have all these kinds of weird interactions with me, like the stereotypes of, I'll share one quick one. I remember when I went to a primary school, it was basically my first and only ever primary school, and the teacher saw me, and being the only black kid, he was like, "Oh, you're from Africa." And you know what he did? He started jumping up and down like the Maasai tribe in Kenya. And I was like, I was very confused. Now, remember, this is primary school, my first year in primary school. So you have to understand, and let me just break it down. I had already been bullied in kindergarten. So to see this, it just kind of adds, I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you for making me feel weird. So, of course, I have more to share, but you know, there are other things that we can talk about. But otherwise, just to let you know, Hong Kong wasn't always that great.
Yeah, and I really found it so heartbreaking that you, for the longest time, thought that you were ugly when you were growing up. Walk us through that.
So with that story I just shared, I think for a long time, I just did not see reasons of why I'm beautiful, because I'm surrounded by, I'm living in East Asia. I'm surrounded by people who have, especially, let's talk about girls first. Like, I'm surrounded by girls who have long sleek hair, porcelain skin. So being the minority, I was like, oh, okay, I don't fit into that. And because I don't fit into that, I was bullied and made fun of. And so for a long time, I didn't feel like, okay, since I don't fit in, since people make fun of me, then that means I must be ugly, I didn't like my hair for a very, 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 very long time. I have straightened my hair at least twice. And I will say that the times when I did straighten my hair, I was like, oh, I finally fit in. It's so nice to fit in. I'm like one of you guys, right? I'm one of you, one of the Asian girls now, even though I'm already half Asian. But no one really saw that. People just saw black girl just because of the hair, the skin tone, the features, etc. So for a long time, it took me a while to really accept the way I was and to also call myself beautiful, which happened, a little bit later, down the line. But for a long time, I was just, when I walk through the streets, look at the billboards, I had no reason to call myself beautiful because I didn't look like anybody that the city was glorifying.
Yeah, because representation is so important, and it really brings me to what you're doing now. I mean, we really like skipping ahead, right? But in terms of, teaching children, because you are a teacher, teaching children drama, and also showing them what is possible in terms of the diversity that you believe is lacking in Hong Kong. In fact, there's a quote that I got from you where you say Hong Kong is diverse but not inclusive. And I thought, wow, that's so profound. And you can tell us more about this because you've been here since you were months old. In fact, many of the Abantu Voices guests that we've had, in fact, I think the one person who's been here the longest was 25 years. You've been here longer, I'm assuming that you are older than 25, right? but so you've seen Hong Kong change, and you've also seen yourself change within Hong Kong. And I'm a bit curious around, what was that like in terms of you having to find your identity in a place that made you believe and made you truly believe that you are not fitting into this picture, but also you're not beautiful, because it's pretty hard.
I would say just growing up, yes, race, this struggle with my identity was only a small thing because I was just trying to survive school, right? Because I went to a local school. I went to a local EMI school, and it wasn't a great school. So I was just trying to survive the school because already society looked down on us just because just to give a background context. So I went to a certain kind of school that was attended by ethnic minorities. And I'm not talking people from the West. I'm talking South Asians and Southeast Asians. Now, the school I went to, we tend to have a bad reputation because the kids in these schools, including myself, we don't necessarily have the best upbringing. We don't come from middle class, upper class families. We come from working class or lower class families. So because of that, there's always this clash between us and the local population. So I will never forget how, like, every now and then in the morning assembly, the teacher would be like, okay, so last week someone complained that you guys were sitting on the train floor, blah, 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 blah. It's just there was tension between, South Asian and Southeast Asians and the local population. is because of in Hong Kong, like I said, we're everywhere. We're not a tiny minority, but still we're not somewhere in society that people kind of look up to or would even consider being friends with. So just trying to survive, overcoming, being looked down as a person by the local society, trying to get through school, trying to go through the ridiculous public education system. I just want to focus on doing well in school so I can go to college. Because I know that once I get my education, then hopefully it'll get better from there. So this whole struggle with my identity was not the center of my attention. It was my academics. Because I know that, for me, for someone from working class, and with my dad's aspirations as well, typical Nigerian dad, go to college, do well in college, and you can, get a good job, get a good home, maybe leave Hong Kong, something like that. So just trying to survive Hong Kong was already taking so much of my time, trying to survive everyone's, overcome everyone's, expectations, etc. So, yeah.
Do you think you survived Hong Kong?
I'm still managing, of course I have. And now I've done so many things that I'm proud of, looking back. I've done so many things in the city that I feel like it is time to go somewhere else. But now it's crazy to see how Hong Kong is somewhat still evolving, still changing. Back then we have this kind of people in certain parts of Hong Kong. And now we have more people from across the river coming over and living in different parts of Hong Kong. It's interesting to see Hong Kong shift from A to B, but still be able to, make a living from what I do. Still be able to, have a decent income.
So your schooling is very interesting to me. You mentioned that you come from a blue-collar family, essentially. You went to a local school, but yet your parents were able to take you to, to graduate at some point, and then take you to Korea. Tell us about that experience. Attaining your BSc, I think, in physics in Korea. You hated it at first, but essentially something changed. And what is it that changed?
So, again, let me give some background context. So I could not get into the universities in Hong Kong. I finished high school, but I couldn't get in because I was trying to go through the science stream. So I wanted to apply for physics. But of course, the majority of the universities in Hong Kong are in the top 100 worldwide. So you can imagine the competition. So I'm like, okay, I want to go to a place that is still affordable, but is also, the education system is still somewhat respectable. So long story short, South Korea was a good option. They were very, very generous with their scholarships, very generous. And they're like, yeah, sure, just come on over, with zero prepping. So I thought, from what I knew from South Korea, it's K-pop, very globalist, everyone's so friendly, so outgoing, everybody wants to be friends with a foreigner.
Yes.
You know where I'm going, right? It's the opposite. So that, the first 2 months, honeymoon period, like, wow, I'm in this land of kimchi, I love, the air smells great, everything's so much whiter, people are so polite, they bow down not bow down, but they bow when you enter the shop. And then, my midterm exams came and it just went downhill and I struggled. I mean, it was okay. The first semester was fine because first 2 months, that's already half of the term, go through my exams, my test, everything, and I have a nice 2-month winter break back in Hong Kong. So, but then it started to hit me, maybe Korea isn't that great because I was crying in the airport when I was coming back to Hong Kong because I knew that I was going to come back to no one, no friends. So I came back and it even got worse and I felt defeated. I was like, you know what, why don't I just go back to Hong Kong? Why don't I just transfer my credits? I'm doing a physics degree. There's some programs in City U or Baptist U where they have like some programs I can just transfer to. But then I realized, okay, hold on. When will you ever do this again? When will you, you're in a different country. You're in a different place, When you climb a mountain, do you just stop climbing just because it gets tough? Yes,
hopefully
some
not.
people do. I know some people that some of you look at me like, yeah, I do. If it gets too hot, I call the helicopter. People have called the helicopter. Like, but the point is, when you've been prepping, when you have already gone through so much to climb that mountain, you're determined to get to the top too, because you know how amazing the view is going to be.
Yes.
And I wanted to be at that top, even though I had no idea what the view was going to look like. So I kept going. I was like, you know what? Even though I'm this close to quitting, I was depressed. I was losing my mind. I had no one to lean on. I stayed and I kept going. And the next thing you know, I was having the time of my life in South Korea. I stayed. I went to the mountaintop. I'll say this: if I had only ever stayed in Hong Kong, I would not be who I am right now. Going to Korea really turned me inside out. Taught me to learn to just be resilient and to not give up. It sounds cliche, but to really not give up. Because sometimes I just wanted to throw in and tell them, like, my studies are hard. I'm learning physics in Korean, which I did not prepare for. It's a horrible cycle. And I'm sure with people, I can talk for hours about my experience living in this country. I can. But otherwise, I stayed and I made friends, I met people who became like family. And that's what I always tell people, that in South Korea, yes, even up to now, I can confidently say, they're still very largely xenophobic. It's not like in Hong Kong where they may or may like you, depending on what you look like or how much money you make, okay? But in Korea, they don't like anybody who's not them. So, but I also tell people, once you get in, once you find the right community, that's why for me now, I'm so big on communities, and I'll probably talk about that later. But communities are so important because I joined communities and people took me in like family and took care of me. And they did, and because of that, and of course, I also serve in these communities. So I'm talking like church communities, etc. And because of that, when my family came for my graduation, they were, it's like we have never received this treatment in Hong Kong. Wow. So when I look back, I'm so glad I stayed, because my parents were like, they could not stop saying good things about Korea and the people who took care of me and my family.
The one thing that you told me, and it really stuck with me, was that Korea taught you how to, teaching people about people. It basically made you do that. Are you able to maybe like break that down there for us?
So after I finished my bachelor's in South Korea, I came back to Hong Kong to do a top master's in modern Asian studies. That's under the field of political science. Why? Because in my third year, when I was a junior, international students were required to take a course in Korean history. Now, I had mentioned I went to Korea with zero knowledge about the country, right? I thought it was just K-pop and kimchi. But then this semester, this course, I would say pretty much changed my life, because it taught me about people. It taught me that people are affected by their history, by their environment, by their culture. It should be a no-brainer, right? But when I took this course and I pretty much mirrored people, Korean people's actions, their beliefs, their behaviors through the history, I was like, oh my goodness, no wonder. You'd be surprised. And basically I was like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to teach people about people, because we're all so complex, we're all so unique, we're all so different, but yet we know so little about each other. And for me, with my upbringing in a multicultural home, an environment, all the things I've gone through, especially in a place like Hong Kong, we still know so little about our neighbor. So I thought, why don't I come back to Hong Kong and shift from working in the science industry to working something related to, that's more about people, education, social science, etc. So that's why with that course, I was like, you know what? I want to be an educator that focuses on people, that helps people learn about other people.
Is that what you're teaching your children right now? Well, not your children, but your pupils right now. What's the one active message that keeps on reoccurring in terms of the message that you want them to always get? What is it?
It's probably not as deep to my students, but I always say this: always understand why your character does what they do. So I teach drama as well, right? I teach English and I teach drama. And sometimes my students, when we go through the characters, sometimes when they're delivering their lines, they deliver it very dry. And I'm like, do you even understand what that line means to your character? And time and time again, I've like, I get frustrated because I'm like, okay, you know this character has done this, has done that, but you're not showing it why. So I always tell my students again and again, look at the lines, go study at home, try to understand what is their motivation. Why do they do what they do? Your character is not a one-dimensional, drawing, on a piece of paper. Try to treat them like they're human beings. Same thing for us. I think what helps us, be more emphatic to each other is understanding why others do what they do. So that's why when I'm going through my lessons with my students, I'm like, okay, pause. I'm like, don't just, I know you memorize the lines through and through. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. But do you understand who you're playing?
And in the teaching, especially with drama, right? Using education to overcome prejudice. How is that working out for you in Hong Kong?
I would say it kind of comes about just because I get to be someone of African descent, and perform on stage in front of a school of, only Chinese kids. Because I work for one of the companies I work for is a drama company that not only do we, outsource teachers, not only do we go to schools and teach, but we also actually perform in schools. So I remember my very first show, I was like, how do the kids feel about seeing a black angel? And this is for the Christmas nativity story. And it was fine. And then I played, and my next character was Juliet. I was like, ooh, I wonder if the kids ever thought they would see a black Juliet. And then we had a black, oh my God, what's her name? Lady Macbeth. And then a black queen in Beauty and the Beast. Was it queen? Witch. Center. So with this, I'm really thankful for my company, but I'm so glad that I can be on stage and show kids that, what characters can be of different shapes and sizes and colors. That I can proudly play a black Juliet. I can proudly play a black Lady Macbeth, which seems to be a character working out really well for me because I keep being casted again and again on stage and terrifying kids.
Speaking of typecast, when you were approached to do some modeling, the one thing that you do mention is that it allows you to have like an alter or get into an alter ego. What does that do for you? And especially also just for your confidence in terms of, growing up as a girl who did not believe that they were beautiful and you didn't feel valued, especially in a physical sense. And then you are, brought in and you're supposed to model these beautiful clothes or whatever that you were doing necessarily. Tell us about that.
I would first say that I'm very grateful that I can't say somehow, but I get the opportunity to model and just get to see myself in a different light because I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually a low maintenance girl. I'm not into makeup. I'm not into wearing fancy clothes, but because I put myself out there, because I go out there and apply for modeling gigs and jobs, etc., it's because I do want to somehow make this, make a living out of this. People like my look. They go through my profile, like, okay, we'll get you. They doll me up. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay. So I do look this with the smoky eyes. Okay, with this dress. All right. So it is a blessing. But I would say my takeaway for people is that I first had to be out there. I had to put myself out there because I could have just been like, well, since Hong Kong only likes Asian or white people to be on their billboards, I'll just do nothing. But because I still tried, even though when it seemed like they would not cast me, even though it seemed like they wouldn't, hire me, I still tried, even though the answer seemed like a big no. I still get the opportunity, and I get to see myself in a different light. And the cool thing about that is that I get to sometimes live lives I would not have lived. So sometimes I get to model for, corporate, where I dress up in corporate clothes, and I'm like, oh, so this is what being a CEO is like. Okay. I'll never forget how I had one. There's one time we're in the office. There's a photo shoot in the office, and I went to everybody. You're fired. You too. Just for fun. Because that's the fun thing. That's why I love this creative life that I get to live. even though it's quite difficult to live because it's a small market, but the fact that I get to explore and be different kinds of people and to also be in their world. So that when I interact with someone from this world, I can get to know them better and not throw my own stereotypes or assumptions about them.
Jemima, what is your honest opinion about the creative industry in Hong Kong?
I was going to say not so nice word, but I would say it has an incredibly long way to go. It's like I just said, it's a small market. The market is too small. People here still are struggling with the still trying to grasp of what creativity actually means. I think for most people, creativity means splashing some colors on a white wall, ta-da, or I don't know, throwing a music event with a very inexperienced DJ and a few glasses of Chardonnay, creative. I don't know, but it has something to do with the culture here, and the culture, and I'm breaking it down. I'll break it down to the unit, the smallest unit, which is the family, which is harmony, right? Everybody wants their kids to have good jobs, good lives, so that they can take care of their family. And because of that, there isn't much room for creativity because parents are throwing their kids into all these activities. Okay, go play football, go play soccer. Okay, go to flute lesson, piano, violin. The kids are exhausted. So you can imagine there isn't much room to really, right, decompress, for the kid to breathe. I always ask my students, what did you do on the weekend? I don't know. Are you sure? Did you go swimming at least? Maybe. Okay, what did you eat for lunch? Don't remember. So it shows you how the kids here, they don't really have much room for them to really explore their own identity and get to be themselves. And that's very frustrating to see as a teacher because I got the opportunity, even though I kind of wish I had more, kick in my butt to do better in my academics, but I'm also glad that my parents literally let me do what I want. And because of that, I also get to be the creative person that I am now.
What has teaching taught you? You teach so many, kids, but what are they teaching you, or what this experience of teaching them is teaching you?
I'm sure every parent would agree, patience.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
I've been teaching for many years, and when I started my first few years, it was hard. I've had difficult kids. I'm sure some of you have either been a difficult kid or have had to raise difficult kids or are still dealing with difficult kids. One or the other. And
we have no idea what you're talking about.
And of course, like you can imagine the first few years of being a new teacher, I would lose my cool. Right? I still do. But I lose my cool in a different way. But in the first few years, I'll be, my voice is can be heard at the back of the hall because I'm screaming at kids just because they simply can't sit still. Now I've learned over the years, okay, first things first, what I said earlier, why are they doing what they're doing? And I've slowly, and it's kind of sad, now that I've been teaching for so long, I've slowly started to understand why some of my students are the way that they are. And I can see it. I can see the pattern. For example, I have one kid. He's in a way, he looks smart. Like he's very intellectual. He's always, talking, jabbering. But he's also all over the place. He's playing with everything on the table. I see his mom. I know why. He's not getting enough playtime. Right? Or you see the kid who's very reclusive. He doesn't say anything, even though 3 of his classmates are talking my ear off. And you meet the mom. There's no conversation at home. Mom and dad are not interacting with the kid. Or there's another kid who thinks they're better than everybody else. And they're talking in my ear off happily, but they're not doing the work. I meet mom and dad. Oh, we're spoiled. So it's having to first understand my kid slowly, trying to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Try to first understand why they do what they do. Why is he acting up? Why does she think my class is boring? Why is she always tired when she comes to class? Because when you're a teacher who doesn't see all these things, your first reaction is sit properly, stop talking, right? You're snapping at all the little things. But first you need to understand there is a reason why they're doing it. They're not trying to be a-holes on purpose, right? Hopefully, right? There's usually a motivation. There's a reason. So I think what teachers taught me is just to first understand the child first, even though they irritate me to death. But at least I can understand that it's not their fault.
I mean, I'm so glad to hear that as a mom to a 5-year-old. I need to give myself I mean, to be a bit more gentle, I guess. But I really want to, before we open up the floor to some questions, there's a period of life where you, a couple of months, were performing. In fact, you were acting, you were singing, and you were dancing in a performance, and you were cast as Diana Ross. How was that? You can see it, right? Like, can you see it?
So this was probably I got to play Diana Ross and perform at the Peninsula Hotel for an immersive theater production. This was probably I'm not sure biggest gig is the right word, but it was probably the biggest thing I ever had to do because I had to dance. Like I had to learn choreo. I had to sing. I was singing 3 songs, only one of which was Diana Ross's song, actually.
And the rest?
And the rest was interacting, acting, memorizing my lines, interacting with the guests. So I did this for like 2.5 months, at least like up to 4 times a week, 2 to 4 times a week. And it wore me out. I needed to rest for like 2 months afterwards. So, but when I look back, I'm so glad I did what I did because, of course, I have never really sang on stage, to a crowd, to a room full of people, let alone act and dance at the same time in one night for 3-4 hours until midnight. But there was this insecurity. I was like, oh, I'm not really. I wouldn't call myself like an R&B or funk singer. I'm not that. I'm okay of a dancer, and my acting is. I've only done a few, stints here and there. So there was a lot of insecurity, but still, I auditioned. Even though I had sent audition tapes before, I auditioned, and then I said yes to the job, even though I was terrified. I was exhausted. But I'm so glad I did what I did because now I feel, you know what? If I can do this, I can do other things.
That's true. It's kind of like that hill you're talking about, right? Or that mountain in Korea. You didn't just stand halfway and then go back. You went all the way. But yeah, on that note, let's open up the floor to some questions. I love your energy. Yeah, you're so energetic. I think a lot of people, if they had to face 2.5 months of being Diana Ross, it would have been a disaster. I know I'll speak for myself. I mean, I think I would be just completely burnt out. But I'm glad you survived it. And just wishing you very best in terms of all the avenues that you're exploring. Oh, you know what I did forget to ask you, and now that you're raising up your hand, I'm reminded of it. Your love for Kazumba, and also just you dabbing and intentionally dabbing into your Nigerian but your African heritage. Maybe like an elevator pitch. How is that going for you before I take my question?
Well, maybe she's mad because she introduced. We met at Kizomba, so I remember Kizomba. I do remember 2 years ago because we had a birthday party at my birthday party at a Kizomba social, and I wish that more people will be exposed to it because it's such a beautiful dance. People only see African dance as something where it's very high energy and it's all this like twerking, all that stuff, or I don't know, other things that is very limited in movement. But kizomba is this beautiful, elegant dance between 2 people. The music is amazing. That's why I fell in love with it. There's kizomba and an urban kizomba. It's such a great dance. I hope more people get to do because it's a great dance from the continent that 2 people can do together that brings people together. And the music is so harmonious. It just heals your soul.
What a lovely way.
Neither working, neither.
What a lovely way to end the evening, I think. Thank you for that beautiful message. And if you do want to get into the sexy dance, debatably sexy, sensual, whatever you want to call it, please. She's your girl. Just get in touch with her. But thank you. We salute you. We appreciate you. We are encouraged by you. And as Anne said, you never go halfway to the mountain, you go all the way. And I think that's the lesson that I'm taking from tonight, from you, is that, you know, you either go big or you just go home. So let's go big, guys.
Thank you.
Bigger.